kill the alpha.
Yes.
The rest of the men, beat them almost to death.
And he said once those women see that, they will become in a frozen, independent state. And what they will do is they will raise all of their young men to be weak and docile.
He said we have to set the old black man against the young black man. We have to set the women against the men. You've got contention between dark-skinned black people and light-skinned black people.
He said once you do that, you don't have to do anything. You can sleep peacefully. The system will self-perpetuate itself. You don't have to do a thing. They'll do all the work for you.
Hi, welcome back to Gotta Be Me podcast. We're so happy to be here again with you today. We're so happy to have oh no, what are those things called? I lost my We're happy to have a snapper. We feel very official with our snapper. Instead of a clap, normally, I mean, you all don't see it, but normally like they give us a clap and then we start, but now we have a snapper. And I hope they include that in the shot.
It's like a film roller. Now we sound stupid.
Anyway, we're so happy to be here again with you today is what I was saying. We're your hosts. My name is Sophia Benyon, and this is my cousin, Peyton Benyon.
Yes, I am the cousin Peyton Benyon. Peyton is spelled with the A-Y. We are not Amish. We are not, what else are we not?
We're not anything else that you assume, most likely.
Yeah, we're Christians. We're part of the Church of God. So that, I don't know if that covers everything.
It's not. You forgot to say like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Our producers are whispering very loudly.
Very loudly, and it's
very
incredibly distracting.
But it's fine.
It's fine. They're allowed to whisper. We just want to tell you all that if we seem distracted, that's why.
That's fine.
They're whispering. They're whispering right in front of us.
You
don't see them, but we see them. They're behind the
them.
camera, and they're whispering.
Okay. Anyways, what we're going to talk about today, somebody commented on some of our past videos.
I had something else to say.
Go ahead.
But don't forget your thought.
New drawers.
So, not new drawers.
Go.
This, as you can see, this is not our normal set.
True.
We do podcasts sometimes right here with guests. We bring the couch and we podcast right there. Our set is under construction.
Yeah, we're going to send pictures on Instagram of how our room looks right now because we redecorated it.
We redecorated our room, but now the way we moved it all around, we can't use that set anymore.
Me and Sophia's side looks the best.
Our side, because Camille has a different side, but our side is siding.
It's siding.
Anyway, so we're working on a new set. We're like saving up for a new set and planning for a new set and all that. So right now we're just in front of our fireplace until we get all that together. That was all I wanted to say.
So yes, new set. A couple people had commented.
Oh yeah.
Under a couple of our videos. One of them was, has there been change? A short, and then another one was under mental coercion versus physical coercion. I can't talk today.
That was a video.
Yeah.
And then there was something under money and manipulation.
It's the same person though.
Okay.
So someone named Darlene Taylor and someone named Fiends Sanctuary.
Keep going.
Fiends Sanctuary with the icon that's like a football. I don't know, football field. So shout out to them because they told us we should read the Willie Lynch Letter.
Also to Henry Petty and Vonnie Vaughn.
Okay.
They all said read the Willie Lynch Letter.
Yeah. So shout out to them for telling us to read it because we're reading it.
I did like start it, but I never finished it one time to my shame. So now I did. Now that they said read it, I read it.
So now we finished it. The interesting thing was whenever I started researching around it, there were a lot of claims back and forth saying the letter is a farce, it's a hoax, blah, blah, blah. And people saying, no, this is true history, and they're trying to hide it by telling us it's a scam, and other things like that. But either way, I tend to lead towards the side of not thinking it's a hoax, but I wasn't there. I haven't done enough research to confidently tell you this is what it is. I am going to lean that way. But either way, if it wasn't true, somebody wrote it, and it's an interesting piece of information.
It's there. It exists.
It is, yeah, an interesting piece of information. I think no matter the case, what they wrote was true. Mm-hmm. Whoever wrote it.
It worked.
If it wasn't Willie Lynch.
Somebody followed that advice. Somebody knew to do that, and somehow it worked.
For sure.
So, like she mentioned, we're not sure, if everything is historically accurate, but supposedly this speech was delivered on the banks of the James River in Virginia in 1712.
It's a long time ago.
So this man was not, he was a slave owner himself, but he was British, and he was from, I think he
West Indies.
Yeah, lived in the islands. And he came there to like give some of the Americans some advice, like basically, this is what I did, this is what worked for me, you should try this. At the beginning of the speech, he kind of tells them, I've noticed you killing some of your slaves. I don't think that's not good economics, basically, which is like, please, okay, let me just say this right now. Please do not be offended by us laughing. We're literally, we are laughing at the absurdity,
it is
the insanity,
mind-blowing.
The mind-blowingness of it. We're not laughing because we take it lightly or we think it's funny.
That was a good point, okay? Because we're probably going to continue to laugh at the outrageousness of this.
Like, and we're not doing it because we're like, oh, it's a good joke. We're literally, I guess, I don't know, that's just how me and Peyton respond to, like, some horror. We laugh. It's not good. It's just kind of a natural response.
Hang around us for a day, okay?
Anyway,
or don't.
So he goes on to speak about, and I'm not going to read the whole letter. I'm not going to read the letter at all. I'm not going to even go through every point. But one of the first things that he mentioned that really stuck out to me, kind of in his intro, he said the most important thing that we have to do is set the slaves. He's speaking about slaves in his time. I'm gonna say black people. He obviously just uses the N-word the entire time, but set black people against each other. He said we have to set the old black man against the young black man. We have to set the women against the men. We have to, and vice versa, men against the women, and the young against the old. And I feel like there was one more that I wanted to mention. That
light skin against the dark skin.
I'm so glad I didn't forget that, or I didn't leave that out. The light-skinned black people against the dark-skinned black people, and vice versa. And he said that's how we'll be able to control them.
He said once you do that, you don't have to do anything. You can sleep peacefully. The system will self-perpetuate itself. You don't have to do a thing. They'll do all the work for you.
And they'll be so distracted with their envying and distrust that they won't bother to stand together, basically, to stand up against you. This is the advice that Willie Lynch was giving to other slave owners. And I thought that was so crazy. First of all, just because of all of the division that we do see in our world right now, adults or boomers, Generation X, people that are older than us, you can see them on social media or just even in talking to us or about us. Younger people often have a lot of negativity talking about,
and I think it goes both ways. I think that it's necessary to understand that because people get very one-sided about it. Young people are like, it's just because the old people hate us.
No.
And then the old people are like, it's because those young people won't listen.
Right.
You know?
And that's what I'm saying.
And there's got to be a balance. And then understanding that this is not the way to function.
Right. The older people talking bad about the younger people, and then you got the younger people talking bad about the older people. You've got...
Same thing with males and females, right? We've got women that want a women's liberation movement. And so we're going to do that by killing the men or what? Like, that doesn't even make sense. God created us to complement one another.
And then you've got contention between dark-skinned black people and light-skinned black people. And it's so interesting that the advice that he gave the slave owners, we're still seeing it.
And he literally said, this will go on for 300 years or maybe thousands. He said the ancient Romans would be jealous.
He said the ancient Romans would be jealous of our strategy. He said this in the 1700s. I'm so tripped out because he said this in the 1700s, and he said this will go on for 300 years. And look at us. 300 years later, and we're still seeing it. We're still seeing it.
Wild, wild, wild. And then the next thing that he kind of got into, what's the title? It says, let's make a slave, right?
That was like the next section. Let's make a slave.
Let's make a slave. Let me teach you all how to make a slave. So he kind of talks about how to break a group of people down. And something I thought was interesting, he said, what you have to do is you have to kind of destroy the image of manhood in the presence of everyone. You have to whip them, beat them,
even kill. He said take the meanest.
The toughest.
The meanest. He said it's the meanest, but I think he means the most alpha male.
Oh, yeah.
By the meanest, I think he means the most alpha male.
That's good. Yeah.
Take him. He said, and him you kill in front of everybody.
Him you kill.
He said you don't want to kill very many, but you kill the most alpha in front of everybody.
It's disgusting.
It is horrible. I'm not even going to say on camera the way he described that you should kill him.
It's disgusting. Well, it's disgusting that he said take the meanest male. Like take the most I don't know. And then he said, do that in the presence of the women. And he said,
and the children, the women and
the children. He said, what will happen is that you will psychologically break the women because their thought of how a man is will be forever shattered. And then
because the other man, they said, kill the alpha.
Yes.
The rest of the men, beat them almost to death.
Beat them almost to death. And he said it will scare the women so bad that they will stop depending on those men. He said what we'll do is we'll reverse nature.
Right.
Right. In a woman's natural state, she will naturally depend on her men. That's how God created us. We love feeling safe. We love feeling secure, and men love giving that. That is just natural.
That's how it should be.
But he said, here's what we'll do. We'll reverse that. And he said once those women see that, they will become in a frozen, independent state. And what they will do is they will raise all of their young men to be weak and docile.
But only in their minds.
In their
mind.
But
strong
physically
in body.
strong. Because she don't want them to die. And she will create her daughters to be the same as her.
Independent.
To be independent and not to lean on those men. And he said, we will not have to do any work anymore. Those women will make sure that those men never rise up again. I don't know if that's a possibility for women to make men not rise up. I don't think it is. But I think it's possible for it to be psychologically done to a people.
And over decades and over generations, it perpetuates and becomes refined.
Yeah.
It becomes refined.
Yeah.
I'm going to digress from the letter for a minute to go back to one of our earlier podcasts where we were talking about interracial marriage, and my sister Camille told this story about a little boy who said, I would never marry a black woman. And we got so many, many comments on that. There's 12,000 comments on that one short. And it was so interesting, the amount of people that said, he said the reason he would never date a black girl was because they're loud and bougie and ugly and, and
annoying.
Yeah.
Ugly.
Something.
Horrible.
And so many people in the comments were like, well, I'm talking about so many. I'm talking about maybe a third.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe more. We're like, well, black women are like that. And to me, if we roll it back, roll it back, which of course, first of all black women are not like that. I'm not saying there aren't some that are.
And the ones that are, we need to
But if there is an abnormal amount of black women that are like that, or if there's even just a perception that black women are like that.
Even if it's literally just if it's a perception, if it's being projected that way.
Can we talk about why? And to me, this...
be a deep thinker.
Right. Please consider. This is what it rolls back to. This is what it stems from.
And that is not to say, people think that when we say that, we're saying we shouldn't take responsibility for our actions.
We are absolutely not saying that.
My.
We would never say that.
We would take responsibility for your actions.
No,
let's be critical thinkers at the same time.
Right,
it's so irritating. Why can two things not be true? I can take responsibility for my actions, one, and two, I can understand that things come from a certain place.
Right. We don't want to be victims.
No.
We're not interested in that.
But you don't
We're interested in
whether
change.
you're a victim or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
You have to admit, if it's true, it's true.
Right. And then from that place of admitting it, then you can make change. You don't sit in your victim.
It doesn't mean you have to have a victim mentality.
Right.
It doesn't mean, people say, don't have a victim mentality. Well, let's not erase the fact that someone was a victim. We don't need to dwell in that mentality, but you can't, people don't understand how to balance things. And I'm not saying I have the perfect balance. It's just, that's something that irritates me. When I see in the comments, I'm just like,
did you even think?
Oh, I want to just get on the keyboard and go crazy.
Well, as y'all can see, the Willie Lynch Letter has really gotten us stirred up.
Another thing I wanted to say before we get off the men, I think that it's interesting if you look back in biblical times. If Willie Lynch is a complete hoax, think about Pharaoh and his armies.
Yeah,
what did Pharaoh say? He said, what you got to do, he said the Israelites are waxing strong. He said, what we need to do, we need to kill all their males.
Right.
And I think the devil has always known that.
Right.
If you want to get a group of people, get their males.
If you want to get to
make the men silent.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that now we think women shouldn't speak. Here we are popping off at the mouth. I'm just
We
saying,
would never say women should not speak at all.
Somebody actually said that the other day.
In the comments.
Yeah, how can you be... Well, I was like...
But destroying the men destroys the women.
Key.
Destroying the men destroys the women as well.
And then,
Anyway, there's different sections of the... He spends a lot of time comparing a black man to a horse and how you break a black man, which is like deep. It's so deep. Anyway, kind of the last section that he gets into is entitled Control the Language, which I think is so good. And he talks about...
He's like an apostle for the devil. Whatever. I'm serious.
He talks about how important language is, and he says it leads to the heart of the people. So, like, basically when you go to a foreign country, the more you know the language, the more likely you're going to be able to get around and get to know people and make friends and all that. Also, if you have an enemy, the more you know their language, the more vulnerable you are to them, or they are to you. And then he goes on to talk about how we can't allow them to address us man to man, and we have to make sure they only speak in this way and use these terms.
Like kind of defining the language and creating boundaries for it for people.
He talks about the rebellion that would happen if they knew what it actually meant when we talk about our land, as opposed, and I just think, oh, whoa, that is so genius. If you can control how people speak and how people think, like, language is everything. I can't even...
It's everything. Think about trigger words and think about how polarizing they are. Like, as soon as you say certain words, like the way that they have been defined does not allow people to hear you anymore.
Right. You can have people totally canceled. You can have friends forever separated. You can have people cutting other people off because of words that came out of their... That's the power of language.
And whoever controls that, they have a large monopoly.
Controlling the language, they control everything. Sometimes I think back to the... I don't know if you've ever read it. It's one of those, what's that called? Oh, utopian, not utopian, the opposite of utopian. What do they call it? Dystopian books, 1984. And they talk about making language smaller. Instead of saying good and bad, you have good and ungood, and just shrinking language. And just, I think, anybody that's like really thinking in depth about control realizes how important language is. And I wish so much that we could get like Brother Randy or somebody on the podcast to talk about the importance of language. I feel like I can't adequately express how important it is. And like, to me, there's so many branches of it, and it goes
so many
into
rabbit
everything.
trails to get into. Really, so many juicy rabbit trails.
And so many things it's connected to and has a hold on. And
and you get with Randy, you talk about Nimrod and how he built the Tower of Babel and how he confused the languages and how that was a way for division to happen. The Lord said their language is one. So when people have a same understanding, that's how unity happens. And when people don't have a same understanding, that's how unity, or that's how division happens. Right? Like, if you're not speaking the same language, me and somebody else, right? People talk about the divide between different groups of people, like someone from the city or from the country. I say one thing and it means something else to you. Now you're offended, but I didn't mean that.
You didn't mean it like that.
Right? And that is just Tower of Babel, right? It's confusion.
I mean, even on the podcast, right? We're always talking. So, I mean, language is a big thing to us, and we notice it all the time. We're saying things, and then people are saying, but this and this, and they're saying, and we're sitting back like, okay, we never said that. We didn't. That word to us doesn't mean the same thing that word means to you. And that's why it's so important for us to be out here. And yes, it's a process for us. Like, we're not going to get it all right. We're in the process right now of redefining the narrative. I didn't say that right. That wasn't precision of language right there. But we're trying to use precision of language because we don't want other people to be able to put a narrative on us.
A division of narrative.
A divisional narrative.
Yes. Oh, we're talking in circles.
I'm just saying, we're learning. That's a good word. We're learning to use precision of language to say, this is what we're saying. And when someone comes and says this, we say, no, but no, this, or yes, but this, or I would say this. I think, like,
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X always does that. Brother Steph was talking to us about Malcolm X. He showed us like
his
a
debate
clip of
at
him.
Berkeley is so neat. They were like, what would you say about violence? You know, they talk like that. And then he was like, well, I would say blah, blah, blah.
And they would say, would you say this? And he wouldn't say yes or no. He would say, what I would say is, and he would bring it back the language.
They could never pin him like that, you know? So.
Because he forced the language to be accurate. And I just think language is so important. And that's just a small, like, we could do This could be a series.
Literally.
The Willie Lynch Letter could be a series.
So thank you to those people for telling us to read it.
It was really good. Really.
I had never read it before, so it was really interesting to me. I was reading it on the way home from school. I was like, what in the world? Mm-hmm. Like, and there's like specific direct quotes that you can take out of there, and the language is just genius. It's just insane.
It's evil genius. Really.
It is evil genius for sure.
And it's been used one way or another. Black people, white people, Latinos, Asians, Europeans, whatever, whoever you are.
This method is used on
all over the world.
We see it used on black people here, and black people can have a good understanding of how this happens, but it happens to everyone.
And if you can understand how this was done to the black man, you can understand oppression. That comes back to our point. Well, that's all we got for our podcast for today.
I've been working out in the mornings.
Yeah, she's actually
doing goals.
She's already gaining weight. I don't know if you remember from the other podcast that she said she wanted to gain weight, but she has gained. How much have you gained?
Maybe pound or two. I don't know. It's probably
2
like
pounds.
water.
Hey, 2 pounds on the way to 20. We're getting somewhere.
It's a lot of fluctuation. But yeah, me and Camille, we wake up so early in the morning, so
like
early that
4:30?
we hate it so much. Even 4:30, and we get in the gym at 5, and we're so mad that we're there, but then we're glad too. And then we work out. So doing goals I am.
Doing goals. And you all know what time it is. Peace, love, and hair grease.